So I am a software engineer and test at Intuit. It's relatively new to the industry as a whole. I believe Microsoft started the role.
Okay.
And so previously, what people would do to test products is just manually test them. And that's not very efficient. An example that I could give on my own team is that it would take 3 people 6 months just to regression and test our product manually, full time. And that's a lot of resources, time, people, money.
And time to market is so important in this day and age. You don't have 6 months to sit around on a product before you release it, right?
Exactly, and that's not even testing the new features that we built. So what software engineers and tests do, I guess to sum up what I do, is we are the gatekeepers of the end-to-end workflow. So we have to have a good understanding of the customer, their needs, and how they use our product. We have to understand the business needs to make sure that that gets baked in. And we also have to understand the developers and how they develop the product, and we have to have a good understanding of how the product works under the hood. So when you take that end-to-end workflow, what test engineers do is we apply our technical knowledge to create a test infrastructure that efficiently tests this product to make sure that we have a high quality product to market. I learned how to code the very first day of college. I originally actually applied to UCSD as an aerospace engineer because I thought I wanted to work for NASA, and computer science was just my backup option. And it's funny because I didn't get into the aerospace program at the time because it was impacted. And it just, it's funny because 6 years ago, nobody was a computer science major, and now it's the hottest thing to be. So it was really great that I got to catch the wave before it was at its peak.
Absolutely.
One of the people that I like to follow is Sheryl Sandberg. She likes to say, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I think that is always the hardest part, because programming, it's new, it's scary, but if you took away that fear and you just focused on learning how to program, it's not that hard. It's just like learning how to ride a bike.
Learning a new language, so to speak, right? A new way to communicate. That's awesome. And women are great communicators, so we should be able to learn a new language, right?
I feel like we have pockets of women networks, and it would be great to see just an overarching, like, San Diego tech scene that supports women in tech. And I think we do have a lot of organizations like Qualcomm, Illumina, Intuit. We have really great women organizations within the companies. So it'd be great for us to come together and network with each other to see what we can come up with.
Awesome. Well, I'm hoping to help spearhead that. So that's great. Good. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been so awesome getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I have a fun job title. People go, is that for real? And I said, yes, it is. It's called a technology evangelist. And what I do here in San Diego is quite unique to other potential developer evangelists or tech evangelists in the Bay Area or in other places. I have 2 sides, which is kind of funny because I always say that there's always 2 sides to every person. I'm a Gemini too. So I have one side, which is I focus on developing an awesome culture for our engineers at Intuit. So we celebrate accomplishments, we do fun activities, but we also make sure that they have the avenue and the training so that they can master the craft. The second part is outward focus. So I definitely do a lot of research. I do a lot of showing up in different parts of the community here or in the Bay Area or even outside of here. For example, I'm one of the coordinators for Enterprise JS, which is JavaScript bigger community in the US, hoping to go global actually. So we've been doing these meetups all around the country, and we started that in 2015. So I have those 2 sides, but my goal is one to make Intuit a cool place to work for techies and maybe people who support techies. And then the second part is, to be honest, is focus a light also on San Diego, on our San Diego office, that we are a place for you to stay, for you to grow, and for you to master your craft. We need to start really thinking about how do we brand and market influencers. And so as women in tech or non-tech, or as women-owned startups, we need to start really focusing in on highlighting who we are and spotlighting that. because just as techies like to work where techies are, I would say entrepreneurs like to see that there's growth and potential. And as women in a community that's why I love having talked to you about what Hera Hub is. As women in a community where, to be honest, it's still quite small compared to the bigger group of, even if it's an early startup. I think we need to not only be supportive of each other and be there for each other, but really find those moments where we could say, man, I gotta talk about you to others, or I gotta tweet this, if nothing else. Let me Instagram you, do a selfie and put it out there. What cool thing you're doing for your business. It's almost just telling people the story, which I don't think we always do a good job of just pausing and saying, we gotta share this with others.
I think as women we are just not often as good at tooting our own horn, right? At stepping up and saying, I'm sure you see this in the corporate environment.
Yes, at work every day. Like, oh my gosh, you're so awesome. Why don't you raise your hand? Well, I thought that maybe I didn't know everything, so I wasn't going to say anything about that. Like, oh my gosh, you know 80% more than what that other person thinks that they know.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't. And
what
yet,
is that?
It's the thing that has to change.
It's
the thing. When the economics of it start to not make sense, that's got to change. A big part of what I do at work is also coaching in innovation. So I'm one of the innovation catalysts at Intuit, and I coach at hackathons. And the number one thing that I always see that makes me kind of like, oh no, she didn't just say that, is when they're up there presenting their solution. And if it's an all-girl team, they start to self-deprecate. And I have to say that it is like, I'm like, no, you don't understand how awesome your solution was. The first thing that they'll say was, well, we didn't get this done and we didn't get that done, and then they finally get to their awesome solution. When I'm like, that other team got less done than you did, right? So I would say it's the same though, but it's an individual struggle. But those of us that are in positions where we can influence, we have to start actually saying, no, stop that. Because I don't see all the other folks self-deprecating. So you got to stop those and start almost stop the bad habits and take in new good habits, which is like, saying that it's okay to fail. It's okay that I don't know right now, but I'm going to find out. And I do think it's an individual, it's a courage thing. But as leaders and as those of us that can influence, younger, older, mid-generation, we have to start taking the stand that, you are cool and you can do this.
Yes, absolutely. All right, it's our mission. You heard it here. Well, Aliza, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And we are going to change the face of women in San Diego. Innovation. All right, I love it. Good job. Thank you.
What was interesting for me was I've had coaches up until recently that were different from my boss. So for example, when Vidya Dinamani, who I saw here at Hera Hub, was my boss, my coach at the time that I wanted to emulate was Rick Jensen. And he was in Mountain View. And then after Rick left and went somewhere, and before he came back, then I got another boss, and his name is Alan Bueller, who works in startup land now, but I wanted to emulate another leader, so I went to Karan Patel. I was constantly finding people, but I will be honest with you, I was having problems trying to figure out, because there wasn't many women, when I look up, there weren't that many women, so I was like, well, okay, not many women, who do I want to emulate? And the number one thing, both of those older gentlemen, sorry you guys, if they ever see this, they're gonna go, just call us older gentlemen, that they have said to me was, the greatest reward comes with the greatest risk, and that it's all about courage. And so both of them said it in their own way, but I still remember every time I would go, well, I don't know, am I ready for this role? They're like, well, why wouldn't you be? Because so-and-so who has had less experience than you is raising his hand. I'm like, you're right. Why the hell am I going to let that person do that? So I think it goes both ways. But you're right.
Definitely.
But you're right. If those of us that are a little older can take the time to find somebody, that actually does help. I just think in San Diego community in general, we just don't do a good job of highlighting just women. even if it's entrepreneurs, I think in the Bay Area they do a better job.
Yeah.
How many Etsy articles have I seen, or Facebook articles, or Google articles? They just do a better job of highlighting people. And that's really, to be honest, like, yeah, it's cool to like think of the tech, but people go to work somewhere because they fall in love with the leader, or they fall in love with the person.
Yeah.
Many times.
Or the culture too.
Or the culture, yeah. But it's made up of people, right? So I just think we need to start doing this. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's like a vlog of some sort, or
just something that we've been trying to start up for a while.
I know. Or if it's a blog, or I don't know if it's like a fun segment on YouTube, like what Hera Hub does, of like where we're constantly just focusing in on a woman, and maybe it's guerrilla tactics out in marketing. Like we find a woman that we loved, and we just like, you know, find 30 minutes in her time while she's walking the dog and talk to us about, you know, about her.
It's about making time too, because I feel often, you know, with women, we have so many things that we need to multitask with, families and job and everything, and that's why I think it's a little difficult for me as a young, early career woman who doesn't have any responsibilities.
Yes, you do.
To seek out those women that I want to be, because I'm afraid that they don't have time for me.
I get what you mean, but I think until you ask, you won't know.
That's true.
And if they say no, find out why. And if they still say no, that probably isn't the person you want to emulate.
Exactly.
I love what we're trying to do here of the whole influencer and you know, the whole innovation day, like women in innovation, because I think we're starting to highlight, but it shouldn't be this one big Super Bowl event. We should constantly find ways to just do that. And I will be honest with you, I am one of those that, and she knows, I have like 17 things that we call 10% time, but I'm willing to, because I already do pro bono help, I'm willing to figure that out. How do we make it like an OPMEC almost? Like for every time we meet someone, you don't understand, like every week, even today, hey Aliza, do you know anyone in AI in San Diego or in the Bay Area that we could talk to that's a female technologist? Like, okay, let me think. Like, we need to be able to say easily in our Rolodex. Well, do we still have that? Our Rolodex in our brain. That's like old
What's
school.
a Rolodex?
I know.